staff, I'm going to take a few minutes here and walk you guys through the SLO process once again this year. This video includes some updates that may not have been in previous videos. So stay with me as we go through the SLO process. It is going to be a whirlwind. The first thing we need to talk about is selecting a quality assessment. There are 3 different quality assessments that you could use for your student learning objective for this school year. So you are going to just have to decide whether you are using the iLearn test. That is the best, most normative of all of the assessments. And then when we drop down from the state-issued iLearn, it goes to exact path, diagnostic testing for the students that we do 3 times a year. And then the final option for you is to use your own classroom-based assessment or a departmentally created assessment. Let's talk about which type of test is better for which teachers. So if you are a language arts or a math teacher or 6th grade science, the easiest test for you to utilize is the iLearn exam. It's a very simple goal to set. You don't have to mess around with anything on the test. The test is going to be given to you. The same could be said for the diagnostic test. If you're English language arts or reading or math, you could use the diagnostic tests that the students do through exact path. For the bulk of us, though, who don't fall into that language arts and math category, you're going to need to create your own classroom assessment that you are going to give to the students. Think of this as a final exam for the entire school year that covers all of your standards, just as if your students were taking an iLearn test that you made for your content area. So here's a quote from our teacher rubric. Class SLO should be drafted from the most standardized assessment available, and the targeted SLO may come from the same assessment or an additional assessment. We're going to get to the targeted SLO in just a little bit. This video was meant to just cover step 1 in the process of selecting your exam. If you're creating your own assessment for your own content area, that assessment must have pre-approval from building administrators before you move forward with your SLO. You have to make sure there's an alignment between your assessment and the course standards that you're teaching. Again, the test has to cover all of your standards. It's not just part of your class, it is a test over the entire class that you have taught all year long. The more important items that you cover should include more weight on the test, so the item measures should be at varying point levels. The questions themselves should vary in degree of difficulty, so you should have level 1 through level 4 questions in the depth of knowledge. Then finally, you have to determine what is an acceptable passing standard for this assessment. So what score could the students achieve to show that they have demonstrated mastery in your class? There are 3 pre-approval forms that are on the next slide that you would need to submit with your assessment, any scoring rubrics that you have that would go along with that assessment. All you need to do is click this link right here and it'll take you to the assessment approval documents that you need to fill out to get your assessment approved. Again, you're only doing this if you are not using exact path or you are not using iLearn for your student learning objective. Here's a handy guide that includes the 4 levels in the depth of knowledge wheel of questions. So as you are making questions for your assessment, or if you are using a previously created assessment that you've done in years prior, make sure that these words are included in the assessment and that you can determine how many level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 questions that you have on your assessment. That takes us to the end of step 1, some important dates. I have built in some time for you guys to work on your SLOs for the next 3 Wednesdays. So I would, if I were you, try to wrap these up over the next 3 weeks before we go on fall break. They are due when we come back from fall break, so if you're that kind of person that wants to work on it, hammer it out over fall break, I guess, have at it. But they are due when we return so that Jeff and I can have those approved, and then they have to go over to the ASC for final approval and submission. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll start with step 2 next.